Hey YouTubers and video viewers in general, this is Chris here to do my 1967 Gimme 10 in the classical music realm. This will be mostly, I guess, more modern composers or artists, but I'll consider it classical enough. So to start with, I'll do the one CD. This is Terry Riley, Olson 3. Out by the Organ of Corti, Volume 3. So this is 1967 was the recording. This was put out in 1996. This is Terry Riley with a Swedish high school orchestra. He's on saxophone accompanying the orchestra. So that's 1967. And then to get into the vinyl, this is an album from 1967, A Second Wind for Organ. So this is organ music as played by David Tudor, Mauricio Kegel, Gordon Mumma, and Christian Wolff are the three composers that have pieces on here. This is on the Odyssey label, which is a subsidiary of Colombier. So David Tudor plays new pieces for pipes and reeds. And then some vocal music from 1967. John Reardon sings contemporary art songs with Bliss Ebert on piano accompanying him. This is on the Serenus label. So, contemporary art songs with piano accompaniment. Sounds strange. Rob had just put out his 1967 video where he recommended, many good pieces from them. Most of these are just the albums that I'm showing from that year on my part. Another vocal release. Jennie Tourel sings Russian songs. So pieces by Borodin, Glinka, Rimsky, Korsakov, Mussorgsky, Rachmaninoff, Stravinsky, and Tchaikovsky. Accompanied by Alan Rogers on piano and Gary Carr on double bass. So, Odyssey label again. This one's a different label showing the Columbia affiliation. And then the third in this vocal trio, also on Odyssey, Extended Voices. So these are new pieces for chorus and for voices altered electronically by sound synthesizers and vocoder. Alvin Lucier is the director, and he also has a piece on here. They also do Pauline Oliveros, John Cage, Robert Ashley, Toshi Ichinagi, and Martin Feldman, Christian Wolff. So electronically treated vocal pieces. And then some solo keyboards. Antonio Soler. This is an release on Musical Heritage Society, which was a reissue or release of the Erato label from France. They put this out initially, and then Musical Heritage Society picked it up. So solo piano, 7 sonatas. Frederick Marvin is the pianist on these. Antonio Soler, or Padre Antonio Soler. Now, this is a piece composed in 1967, put out on this non-such label release. This is George Perle, String Quartet number 5. He completed that in 1967. So there's the None Such label upside down. It's played by the Composers Quartet. So, String Quartet. And also from that year, George Perle did some wind quartets. So Wind Quartet 3, played by the Dorian Wind, Quintet from 67. This is on the New World label. George Perle. So 2 compositions by George Perle. Wind Quartet, String Quartet and Wind Quintet. And another piece composed in 67 comes from this compilation, New Music for Virtuosos Volume 2. This is also on New World. So this one is Andrew Embry. It's got a little booklet built into it with descriptions of these pieces. So Andrew Embry, 3 sketches, trombone and piano. So New Music for Virtuosos Volume 2. And then this album from 67, Antonio Janigro, an album of cello favorites. So Antonio Janigro on cello and Antonio Beltrami coming on piano. On the Connoisseur, no, this is on Vanguard. White classical Vanguard label. So, mostly European composers. Cello favorites. And then Charles Ives, Piano Sonata number 1 by Noel Lee. This was recorded in 67. I think this is a later release, but Charles Ives, American composer, on None Such. Noel Lee, the pianist. And I may have pulled more than 10 out for this, since it's this is the second to the last in this series for me. Two piano versions of songs, songs, and Brahms, the Brahms Sonata for two pianos, songs, variations for two pianos on a theme of Beethoven by Baraka Eden and Alexander Tamir. This is on the London label. Two piano compositions. And then some more modern type musique concrète. Pierre Henry, Mass for Today, an electronic rock ballet. The Green Queen. This is on the Limelight label. Pierre Henry, a French composer. This one's a white label promo copy on Limelight of this rock ballet. And I'll try to leave links for all these so you can hear what they sound like, since I'm not really describing them. Then I got this recently, which supposedly is 1967, but Edvard Grieg. This is a 5 LP set put out by RCA, mostly solo piano, but gets down to piano trio and then with orchestra on a couple of the compositions. This booklet, this is a European release, so it is not in English. But here's the label. So 5 LP set. It was turned out to be a pretty good price, and I was lacking enough Grieg in my collection that I thought I'd pick that up. Another solo piano, Claude Debussy, as played by Ivan Moravec. This is on the Connoisseur Society label. So solo piano pieces, Clair de Lune, Children's Corner Suite from 1967, and then the last two, Electronic Music 3 on the Turnabout label. This is an ex-library copy. So the piece on here is from 67, is the one here, Ilhan Milaroglu. I think he's Turkish or from the Mideast. So this is piano music for performer and composer. 6 preludes for magnetic tape. So more modern classical or avant-garde type compositions, composed in 1967. And then the last one to extend a world music theme, Ravi Shankar, The Genius of, from 67 on Capitol. No, on Columbia, sorry. This Columbia 2i version. So that's completes the 1967 albums. Then, you know, again, I've been showing things for the last couple that Rob at Sound Strange has inspired me to get from the things he's been showing. So I recently picked this up, Spirals. This is a 10 CD set of snapshots of contemporary classical music. So 10 CDs, such as this, of things. Fanfare for 3 trumpets and timpani. Other things on here. There's one on Danish music for trumpet and organ, piano trios, chamber music, trombones and electronics. So quite a variety of music on here. That's all due to Rob's influence to get me to. He has shown, you know, several of these type sets where he's pulled out a particular piece to showcase in one of his videos. And he'd also mentioned that he was going to start, he was thinking about doing some things related to opera, because he started out his 1967 video with an opera piece that was playing in the background. So I don't really listen to opera, but I did get exposed to it back when I was early in my career, a field engineer. And I was sent out on assignment. First place was Omaha, Nebraska, right in the dead of winter, it seemed like, at least for me, coming from the south. You know, sometime in December, and I ran into this guy, Dick Seidel, and he was from Sperry. We both worked for Sperry, which later became the Unisys Corporation, but he was out of the Long Island or the Great Neck office, and he was the senior engineer. I was the junior engineer, but he was an opera listener and classical music player, I guess. I didn't know it at the time in Omaha, but then we were both assigned to the same project again in Birmingham, Alabama, a year or so later. And he was traveling around with his cello, and that was one of the things he used to determine, you know, when he bought a car, you know, did it fit? So he was driving a Volvo sedan because the cello fit in the front seat and the passenger seat. And somehow he had convinced the city staff in Birmingham to use their climate-controlled vault so he could store his cello in there while he was working out of Birmingham instead of keeping it in the motel room. But, you know, so that was about as close as I came. So he would, you know, listen to, that was some of his traveling music in his car. You know, he might be listening to opera. So I was exposed a little bit there. And then later on I had a girlfriend, and she had a job for a little while at Borders while they were still a viable company. And I guess they allowed their employees to pick and choose out of certain things or what they wanted, just they could take them home free. So she ended up giving me, I guess she didn't listen to opera, so she picked up several things and brought them home for me to try out. So there's a A to Z of opera, which is, you know, I haven't opened it yet, but comes with this quarter-inch booklet, and then several 2.5 hours of, you know, excerpts from operas. And then I think these were all from the same person. Philip Glass, La Belle et la Bête. Another opera by Philip Glass. And then these two other pieces. Knotten by Philip Glass. And another one. Eastern Indian. So I've got lots of music to listen to when I run out, you know, again, 10 CDs worth just because of Rob, plus these other ones. So, all right, everyone, thanks for watching. And 1968 should be my last one in this particular series, though I'll show some other, you know, related music in other future videos. But thanks everybody for tuning in. And since it's Friday evening, the beer I was drinking was this by Stone Brewery. This is Woot Imperial Stout with flavored with almonds and almonds, wheat, and rye, aged in bourbon barrels. So Imperial Stout, 11.5% alcohol by volume. So won't be drinking many of them, but I'll enjoy what I do have. So thanks everybody.